everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm glad you're here. Today I'm going to show you how to make 2 cards using the stamp set called Sunflowerthoughts, and it has coordinating thin cuts. Okay, so I'm going to make 2 cards today. The first one, I'm going to start with some white daisy cardstock. I'm going to trim this down to 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to bring my die cut machine in and I'm going to make some masks. So I have some masking paper. This is from Judikins. There's lots of different options online for masking papers. And this is a low-tack paper. And I'm going to cut the sunflower die on this masking paper 3 times to create some masks. So shortcut for masks, usually I like to fussy cut because I get a more precise line, but I think for this project it'll be okay. All right, so now I've got my 3 masks that I can peel off of that Big Shot plate, cutting plate there. And then we can start stamping. Okay, so I've got some scratch paper and my white daisy, and I'm going to bring in some black ink, and I'm going to random stamp this sunflower image all over this white daisy panel in black ink. And I'm going to create a background. Okay. Stamp that out, and then I'll place my mask down, and then I'll stamp again. So that image I just put down will look like it's in front of this one. And then I'll place a mask down. And then I'll just continue layering my stamped images and placing masks where I need it until my whole panel is covered. Add another one, and then I'll pick up one of the masks that I've already used and reposition it, and then stamp my last stamp. So this will be my background. Okay, so now I can peel off my masks. And for those areas where there's a bit of a void and a white line between the flowers, I'm just going to go in with my black journaling pen and kind of fill in those areas. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in the light side of Sundance, and I'm going to stamp in Mocha this sunflower image again. And then I'm going to bring in some Sundance and stamp it again. I'm going to layer these 2. And the set comes with some great sentiments, and the one that I'm going to use for this one is thanks. Sorry, thank you. I'll stamp that in black ink. Okay, and now I've got the leaves to the sunflower loaded into my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp on the light side of Pine. This is a new color that's available now. And I'm going to stamp in Mocha. Okay, and then off camera, I'm going to die cut all of these images with the coordinating die cuts. Okay, so now I have my sentiment that I've trimmed out, and I've dovetailed one end, and I'm just going to doodle a little line around the border. And now we can start assembling. So I've got a piece of black cardstock that I'm going to cut at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 so that I can leave a tiny border of white on the card base, and then it'll be black, and then that'll be a tiny border, and then I'll have my sunflower background. So I'm just putting everything down with Tombow. And the great thing about that is if you don't get it straight, you have a second to pick it back up and put it where it needs to be. Okay, so now I have my background layered, and then I'm going to add my sunflowers. So we've got black and white in the background and then a pop of color. I love sunflowers. They're one of my favorites. Bright and cheerful and happy flowers. So I'm just going to layer in all these leaves and the stem with Tombow, and that one leaf that's kind of hanging off the left side, I'll trim that off. Had some adhesive, extra adhesive there, and I used my rub and remove eraser to remove it. Layer in these leaves. Trim off that excess. And then I'm going to pop both layers of the sunflower with foam tape. Now I'll add my sentiment. And then I'm going to add these dots from Crispair. They come in shapes of hearts and stars and dots, and they're in all the different colors in the collection. So I'm going to pull some hearts in yellow and green and toffee colors and scatter those around my card front. And then for the last touch, I'm going to add some shimmer brush. This one's in toffee. So I'm just going to paint the center of the flower and add some shimmer. And then I'm going to add, I started out with Sundance, but I think that's a little bit too dark. So I'm going to go in with Lemonade, and I'll add some shimmer and then just a little touch of Sundance. And there's my finished card. So pretty. It's happy and cheerful. Okay, let's make another one. All right, I've got some Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock, and I've cut this down to about 3 by 3. And I'm going to bring in that backing to the stamp set to add a little foam cushion underneath. And I'm going to stamp my sunflower in black on this watercolor paper. And then I'm going to add my sentiment, which is thank you, up in the corner there. So I've let part of the sunflower go off the edge of that watercolor panel. And then I'm going to bring in some Distress Oxide. So I have mustard seed and wild honey. I'm going to add a little bit of water. I'm just going to smoosh them down on my splat mat, my all-purpose Close My Heart mat, and I'm going to paint with these oxides. So I'm using a detailed blending brush, and I'm just painting my sunflower image. And then I'm going to bring in some Uncharted Mariner and add a background around my sunflower. Okay, then I've got an embossing folder. This is the Cascading Dots, and it's still available. And I'm going to emboss some white daisy cardstock with this embossing folder. Before I ran it through there, I spritzed it with a little bit of water to keep the cardstock from cracking. And I've got some texture and interest for a background. Okay, now we can start building our card. I've got some black cardstock and Then my embossed panel. So my black cardstock is cut just a little smaller than my card base, so it's at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then I've got my embossed panel that's cut 1/8 of an inch smaller, so 4 by 5 1/4. I'll just add that with some wet glue. And first I thought I wanted it to go that way, but then I changed my mind. So spun it around. And then I'll add my sunflower to the black cardstock piece. And then I have some craft foam cut just a little bit smaller, and I'll pop that whole panel up with the craft foam. And then we'll add that to the card front. And then I'm going to bring in a shimmer brush. This one's in Paprika. And I'm going to paint the center of the flower and add a whole bunch of shimmer. Give it a pop of color there. And then I decided to go in with some lemonade and add a little more shimmer to the petals of the sunflower. And there's my finished card. So these supplies are available in my online store, and I'll make a list with links in the description below. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button, and then you'll be able to find all of my videos. And stay tuned for Wednesday's video for part 2 using this stamp set, 2 more cards. Thanks for watching.